Hey there, English learners. I'm Jenny, and welcome to today's chat about mastering English speaking skills. 8 years ago, I was that super shy girl who'd literally hide behind her textbook when the teacher asked questions. Today, I just wrapped up hosting an international business meeting with colleagues from 12 different countries. So, how did I go from silent to confident? That's exactly what we're gonna explore together today. You know what's crazy? English didn't just change my career, it completely transformed who I am as a person. Back in my early days, I thought English was just another subject to pass in school. Man, was I wrong. Learning to speak English opened doors I never even knew existed. I started my own online business, moved to 3 different countries. None of this would have happened if I hadn't taken that first scary step to actually start speaking. Let me paint you a picture of my very first day in an English conversation class. There I was, sitting in the back corner, practically invisible, when suddenly the instructor said, "Jenny, tell us about your favorite hobby." My mind went completely blank. I knew the words in my head, but my mouth just wouldn't cooperate. I mumbled something like, "I like reading books very much," and immediately wanted to disappear. That moment was both my lowest point and my wake-up call. But here's what that experience taught me: speaking English isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to communicate, even when you're messy, even when you stumble. From that day forward, I decided to embrace being a beginner and see where this journey would take me. Let me be real with you about what those early months were like. Speaking English felt like trying to juggle while riding a unicycle. Everything seemed impossible. My pronunciation was all over the place. I'd confuse ship and sheep so often that people probably thought I was obsessed with maritime livestock. I'll never forget this one incident at a grocery store. I was trying to ask for directions to the dairy section, but instead of saying, "Where can I find milk?" I somehow managed to say, "Where can I find silk?" The poor cashier spent 10 minutes explaining where the fabric store was while I stood there nodding politely, completely confused. It was embarrassing, but looking back, it's also hilarious. And that confusion taught me more about English than any textbook ever could. Here's the thing about language learning: it's messy and full of surprises. Think of it like cooking. You don't become a chef by reading recipes. You become a chef by burning a few meals and gradually figuring out what works. Every mistake makes you better. My real breakthrough happened about a year into my journey. I was at a coffee shop when I overheard 2 tourists struggling to order in broken English. Without thinking, I walked over and offered to help translate. For 15 minutes, I found myself naturally switching between English and my native language, helping them navigate the menu. When they thanked me and said my English was really good, something just clicked. I realized I had stopped thinking about speaking English and had just started. Speaking. Now, let me share the specific strategies that revolutionized my speaking ability. These aren't fancy theories. These are real-world techniques I discovered through trial and error. Instead of starting with boring grammar drills, I began with stories. Every day, I'd pick one simple story from my life and practice telling it in English. Maybe it was about my morning coffee routine or what happened on my way to work. The key was repetition and adding details each time. I started basic. Yesterday, I went to the market. I bought apples and bread. The weather was sunny. Then I'd tell the same story again, adding more details. Yesterday morning, I decided to walk to the local market. The sun was shining brightly, and I thought it'd be nice to get some fresh air. I bought some crisp red apples and warm bread from the bakery section. This technique is pure magic because it teaches you to think in English, not just translate. You're building fluency naturally, the same way children learn to speak. I created what I call my English bubble. This isn't about moving to an English-speaking country. It's about bringing English into your everyday world. I started talking to myself in English while doing daily activities. When cooking, I'd narrate everything. Now I'm chopping onions. Ouch, my eyes are watering. When getting dressed, today I'll wear the blue sweater because it's chilly outside. I also became best friends with English podcasts and audiobooks. But here's the twist. I didn't just listen passively. I'd pause frequently and summarize what I heard in my own words. Sometimes I'd even argue with the podcaster. Well, I disagree with that point because this active engagement transformed passive listening into active speaking practice. Most English learners spend years studying, but never actually have real conversations. So I created conversation challenges, small, achievable goals that pushed me out of my comfort zone. Week 1, order food in English at 3 different restaurants. Week 2, make small talk with 5 strangers. Week 3, call 3 businesses and ask about their services in English. Each challenge was specific, measurable, and just scary enough to make me grow. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you had a real conversation in English? Not a lesson, but a genuine back and forth with another person. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, fear. Fear of judgment, fear of making mistakes, fear of sounding stupid. I spent months being my own worst enemy. The biggest game changer was learning to change my internal dialogue. Instead of thinking, I'm terrible at this, I started saying, I'm getting better at this. Instead of everyone will laugh at my mistakes, I told myself, my mistakes are proof that I'm trying. I created what I called my confidence playlist, not music, but a mental list of all my English victories, no matter how small. The day I successfully ordered pizza over the phone. The time I helped a lost tourist. I'd review this list whenever I felt discouraged. I also learned to reframe mistakes as data collection rather than failures. Every time I messed up, I'd think, interesting, now I know that doesn't work. What should I try instead? This shift from shame to curiosity made all the difference. Confidence isn't something you just magically develop, you build it through small successes. I started with low-stakes practice, situations where making mistakes wouldn't matter much, but I'd still get real speaking practice. I'd call businesses to ask about their hours when I already knew the information. I'd practice ordering at drive-thrus. I'd leave voice messages for friends instead of text messages. Each mini conversation built my confidence without pressure. I also discovered the power of recording myself, not for perfection, but for progress tracking. I'd record myself telling the same story once a month and compare the recordings. Hearing my own improvement was incredibly motivating. Instead of vague goals like improve my English, I learned to set micro-achievements. These were so specific and small that success was almost guaranteed, but they added up to significant progress. For example, this week, I'm gonna use 5 new English expressions in real conversations. Or, by Friday, I'll explain my job to someone without stopping to think for more than 5 seconds. These goals were measurable, achievable, and exciting to accomplish. One of my smartest moves was finding my English tribe, people on similar journeys who could support each other. I joined online speaking groups and local conversation meetups. The magic of community isn't just about having people to practice with, it's about having witnesses to your progress and cheerleaders for your efforts. When you're struggling alone, it's easy to give up. When you have people rooting for you, quitting becomes much harder. How would you rate your current willingness to make mistakes in English? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 means you're completely comfortable with messing up. Here's something nobody tells you: there'll be days when you feel like you're going backward. Days when you can't remember words you used perfectly last week. Days when every conversation feels impossible. I remember this particularly brutal week about 3 years into my journey. I had a series of communication disasters. I confused business terms during a work call. I got lost trying to explain my weekend plans. I even ordered the wrong food because I misunderstood the server. By Friday, I was ready to give up. But here's what I learned: these setbacks aren't signs of failure. They're signs of growth. When you're challenging yourself with harder conversations and higher stakes communication, of course you're gonna stumble sometimes. The alternative is staying safe and comfortable forever, which means never improving. Let me take you on a little journey into what's possible for you. Imagine you're at an international conference, effortlessly networking with people from around the globe. You're sharing ideas, making people laugh, and feeling completely at home in English. Picture yourself traveling anywhere in the world and feeling excited about conversations you'll have. Imagine watching English Netflix shows and understanding every joke, every cultural reference. Think about your career possibilities expanding because you can communicate your brilliant ideas clearly in the world's most widely spoken business language. This isn't fantasy, this is your actual future. Every person who speaks English fluently started exactly where you are now. They felt the same fears, made the same mistakes, and had the same doubts. The only difference is that they kept going when it got hard. Learning to speak English fluently is like training for a marathon. You don't start by running 26 miles, you start by running around the block. You build endurance gradually, celebrate small milestones, and trust the process. One day, you look up and realize you've covered more ground than you ever thought possible. Before we wrap up, I want to challenge you to take one concrete action today. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait until you feel ready. Choose one technique I've shared and commit to trying it for just 10 minutes today. Maybe you'll tell yourself the story of your morning routine in English. Maybe you'll record a 2-minute voice message describing your current mood. Maybe you'll find an online conversation group and introduce yourself. Whatever you choose, make it happen today. Here's what I know to be absolutely true: your English-speaking journey is unique to you. Your timeline will be different from mine, your challenges will be different from others. But if you commit to showing up consistently, speaking bravely, and learning from every interaction, you will get there. The world needs to hear your voice in English. Your perspective, your experiences, your insights, they all matter, and English is the key that unlocks your ability to share them with millions of people around the globe. So take that deep breath, embrace the messiness of learning, and remember that every expert was once a beginner who refused to give up. Your English-speaking adventure is just beginning, and I'm genuinely excited to see where it takes you. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and most importantly, keep speaking. Your future self is already thanking you for the brave choice you're making right now. What's the first thing you're gonna practice today? Choose something specific, Set a timer for 10 minutes and dive in. Your English speaking transformation starts with this single moment of action.